Hi, this is Adam Гассов from Satan and Adam, and this lesson, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play a bit of a tune. When I talk about how important it is for contemporary harmonica players to take the best that's been played in the past, not just on the harmonica, but on other instruments, on saxophone and piano, letting those influence you, but also trying to do something new. I'm going to give you an example of something that I think is a little bit different. It's very much in the direction of blues harmonica, but I also think it's contemporary. And this is a song called Unlucky in Love that Sterling McGee, Mr. Satan, my partner for many years in Harlem, worked up. And I worked up a harp line that basically doubled a lot of things he was doing on guitar. And I think, by the way, that's one of the ways in which you can move the instrument forward, is find musicians who aren't just doing the same old Hollywood Fats kind of riffs. I mean, those are great riffs. It's wonderful period stuff, and it was vital for a reason then, and it's vital now. It's important to find other sorts of musicians, guys who are trying to respond to what's actually going on around them now, not just on a retro trip, if that makes any sense. Although I love retro playing, but it's not what I do. Here's the harmonica part, and if you can find the original of this on Living on the River, the third Satan and Adam CD. It's called Unlucky in Love. It's on a B-flat harp. It's played cross. I've got going through my mouse amp and my Premier Twin 8 cranked way up in a room at home. So that's the riff. That's sort of taking it all the way through. Let me put down the mic. Let me just play it for you. I'm going to actually play it very slowly so that you can, at home, if you've got a B-flat harp, maybe you can get this. Start on the one hole. Now there's probably a lesson in just dealing with those notes that I did. So let me improvise a lesson right now. All right, what did I do? Well, first of all, in order to make the riff sound as good as I want it to sound, I've got to have that strong, clear one-hole draw that I talked about in an earlier lesson. I'm doing a bent 2 draw. And notice when I go from the 1 to the 2 draw bend back to the 1, I release all of that bending energy off the 2 when I go back down to the 1. If I don't, I'm bending the 1. That's why blues harmonica is devilishly hard to play. It's like skiing down a series of moguls, right? Very hard acceleration around the curves, and you've got to let off, you've got to push, you've got to do all those things. This is extreme skiing. We all know this, those of us who play the instrument. Now let me talk about that 3-hole draw. There's a whole lesson that I want to do on what I call the blue third. What are we doing with that 3-hole draw? Well, I'm going to give you this lesson next time around, I think, but what I'm doing is I'm bending it slightly. Harp players who've been there know what I'm talking about. You're taking a quarter tone off that 3-hole. Not, right? You're going to pull it down. Next to the 2-hole draw. In fact, you know what? I'm going to hijack this lesson. We're going to talk about the 3-hole and continue it in the next lesson. Next to the 2-hole draw, there's no note on blues in blues harmonica. The whole thing that's more important than what you do on that blue third. That 3-hole draw, playing cross harp, right, with a little bit of the pitch scrubbed off it, right? Not, but and there's a world of practice that it takes to be able to just pull it down to the right place. The misunderstanding, I think, that beginning and early intermediate players have is that somehow, in order to make a blue note, you simply bend the note. You bend the reed. Well, that's not true. You bend is a way of making the proper pitch, but the bend is not the pitch. And it's certainly easy on the three-hole draw to bend it down much too far to get what sounds like a really funky note, but it's not a pitch you can use. So it would be easy to go... And you can actually go, you can get 4 different notes on the three-hole draw. 4 notes. Which one do you want to use? Well, I'm talking about the first one down off the top. That spoon, that spoon, that spoonful. Now, in some cases, it's easier to hit that three-hole draw bend, what I'm calling the blue third, that little quarter tone, almost a half-tone bend. It's easier to hit it with your tongue on the roof of your mouth, kind of articulating, like that. Right? So that might be one way of doing it if you're having trouble doing it. Just do it with no bend, and then apply that bending energy a little bit as you're tonguing the thing. And the secret is, and the hard thing on this instrument, is doing that this is the subtlety that Nat Riddle's talked about. It's being able to pull it down just enough, and then as you play harder, releasing a little of the bending energy, because the harder you're pulling air through, the less you need to change the shape of your mouth in order to get that bend. It's a constant sort of shifting little calculus of forces you're applying. So the more air you're pulling through, the more you get to let it up. It's a little bit like, here's a best example, is an airplane. When an airplane's traveling at high speed and it wants to go up or down, it just needs to trim slightly, right? And that'll make a huge difference. When it's a lot slower on landing approach, you can have those big flaps all the way down. Well, that's the way to think about it. That's actually an analogy that really does explain why. The faster the air is moving, the less you need to airfoil the surface, your tongue up against the roof of your mouth, in order to get that sound. And I can see that I'm out of time, so we're going to have to come back and talk about that blue third, and I'm going to do it in 3 different octaves next time around. See ya.